Welcome to this episode of DDB Talks, our video series featuring the brightest minds, most interesting stories, and tales of unexpected works from around the world. I'm Lindsay Bennett, and today I'm joined by Global CCO Weiss, adam&eveDDB CCO Brim, DDB New Zealand ECD Steele, DDB Germany CCO Sukopp, DDB North America CCO Britt Nolan, and DDB Latina President and CEO Juan Ortiz. We're here to speak about Cannes today being just around the corner and some of the work that we think might win gold. Juan Carlos, let's start with you and the incredible success that Africa has been having lately at the recent D&AD show with 16 pencils. It's incredible. Many of those were awarded to the most valuable news campaign by Africa Brazil. Can you tell us a little bit about that work and why it's been so successful this award season?
You know what? First, because it's a great idea. Simple. Sometimes we forget something that is very important. And you know, something that I truly believe is that first, Africa is having a tremendous year. And when we saw this idea for the first time, like just the seed of the idea that they presented at the bullseye system, it was incredible that it got unanimous voting. Everyone said, wow, what a beautiful idea. And then that idea, that is a tremendous, powerful idea about making the fake news as part of the culture, how to connect fake news with a newspaper that is trying to give back value to the news. So we created this newspaper as printing money, but this time was the newspaper. So we follow all the processes as we were printing money, but printing the newspaper with ultraviolet, with all the security system, and it was great. But also this idea has something that is very important, and is the crafting. It's beautiful, it's perfect. The design is details, and it's very, very, very the Brazilian way of getting every detail in place. It's a printing culture. And so that's something that is very important for me. And you sent me an email asking me about why it's unexpected, right, Lindsay? And for me, the question is, I never start thinking about why it's unexpected. I always start getting a great idea or trying to get a great idea. And then if it's great, it's because it's going to be unexpected, never the opposite. Because it's easy to say, okay, this is unexpected. No. Then first, let's talk about the ideas, and then maybe can be unexpected. But we're very happy and proud with this idea, and it's just beginning like the hunting season of awards. Maybe some lions, maybe something like that. So let's see what is going to happen. But we're very happy about it.
Yeah.
Now we are in the hands of Rich. Rich, you have the valuable news in your hands. No, okay.
I know nothing yet. And even if I did, I'd be shot.
I think the level of craftsmanship is exactly what we've come to expect from DDB Latina. And I love that you don't always start with the input of unexpected works. It actually is something that Latina does naturally, which I think is kudos to your region for always creating unexpected works before we branded it unexpected works.
I hope so. We hope so. Maybe it's a little bit unexpected, but it works. So no, that's it. So really, we truly believe that this unexpected works is part of a culture. That's for sure. It's not part of a piece of work. It's part of a culture, and that's a big difference.
Definitely. Diana, another piece of work that's been incredibly successful from DDB Germany has been the Uncensored Library. Can you tell us a little bit about that work?
I can try, because I haven't been part of the team. It's not my idea, but it's now my team, and I'm super, super proud. So I squeezed every information out of them, and I hope I represent them really well. This has come to life in our Berlin office by 4 amazing creative people, Sandro, Tobias, Nina, and Patrick. And those came together for our client Reporters Without Borders bypassing press censorship. And as you can imagine, that is a high challenge if you look at the firewalls, the digital firewalls that you're up against. But it's an even higher challenge, you have to admit, if you want to engage with young people and make them aware of press freedom. So what they were looking is where do we have this community of young people who we can engage? And on the other hand, where can we really have a loophole in terms of press censorship? So they were looking into oppressive countries where millions of young people are living under the censorships. And they looked into gaming. And in this particular world, they found the loophole because gaming in those countries is still a virtual free space. And then they were looking in Google in terms of which games where we can push articles out there, where can we write something in games, and Minecraft came up. So there we looked into it and say, okay, what can we do there? Oh, we can publish books. Oh, then the whole library idea built around it. Then the community built around it. And then they were going crazy in terms of, okay, we can build a library, but we can make this really massive to spend everything that we have to experience everything that we can do in the game to make the community aware of it, because there are impressive buildings in Minecraft. There is Schloss Neuschwanstein, for instance. So then they built up this library and they made it so massive that when you now switch on the clowns, they are inside of the library and you can't put another block on the top. This is the limit of the game, which is extraordinary and cost me about 76 minutes rendering in whole when I entered Minecraft. So you've got this massive building, you've got this community that experienced it, and that really took it to the top. And they collaborated from the beginning. And I think that is really unique with our Berlin office. They have a very collaborated spirit anyway. They speak English, although they're based in Germany. They've got international creatives. I think that's also a very good advantage. And they are looking for collaboration everywhere. There is no ego. And there were 5 partners, 75 people around this case in the end. And it was 100% remote. So that was really incredible. And then the results also were just like going through the roof. And if you watch it, I think the unexpected in there is really in the UX. So the design of this is just lovely. And I'm so proud that this is now my team, although it's not my idea, but I can work with them now and I can pick on their brain and access it. And that is really crazy. I love it.
Yeah. And talk us through some of the results, because I know they've been really incredible. And the campaign has just done so well, even in the most recent award shows, D&AD, ADC.
Yeah, it's insane. It's just insane. We're so blessed with this. I don't even find any more words for the team in terms of, oh, this is awesome. Oh, this is more awesome. Oh, look at those incredible results. Oh, celebrate this. But I think the results in the case film already give you an idea how massive this was. I think our luck was that people couldn't go anywhere and were just sitting at home playing this game. And we just hit it off with, I think, 2.7 billion media reach in the first weeks, which is 790 articles and 15 years of gaming. But the more incredible results is when you really look into what has it been for the client, what was really in the end their value out of it. And they had 62% donation increase. They had 3,500 membership increases, but also, and that is incredible for the team, when it came to life now, this is something that university are having in their program, and schools have put this into education. The team is doing tours with school class inside the library and just lead them through and teach them about press censorship. And I think the most incredible result is that it's still growing. So it's not only that we still get clicks on the website and donations are increasing. We opened up 2 new rooms in March this year, Brazil and Belarus. So that is also an incredible result. And now I can tell you we have a 3rd one in the making. So Eritrea will come up as well, which is also, that's That is so brilliant, because remember, it's about press censorship of people who are suppressed in their countries, and they are giving us their stories. And this makes the library still growing, and the blockchain technology makes it so hard to get this out of the game. So every time you try to destroy it, it just uploads so much faster. It's so wonderful to see that this really has a part in life now, and that it really helps the client to grow bigger. And it's amazing. The team did an incredible job.
Yeah, and it's so great. I can feel your passion for the work, just the way that you speak about it. So that's really lovely. Another passionate person, Gary Steele over there in New Zealand. New Zealand created an idea that only New Zealand could, an HIV positive sperm bank, which has been something strange I've had to Google over the last year or so since launch. Not only did this challenge misconceptions around HIV, but I believe you're up to 4 children now being born as a result. How was this idea brought to the New Zealand AIDS Foundation, and was it something that, was briefed in, or that you came up with proactively?
Yeah, as you say, unexpected. I mean, nothing can be more unexpected than actually giving birth to a baby. So we're quite proud of this campaign. And like Diana was saying, I'm merely a passenger on this journey, and it's all down to the team that was so passionate behind it. New Zealand AIDS Foundation is a client of ours, and we've been doing quite a few jobs with them. And they came up to us with a problem going, on World AIDS Day, we want to actually talk about and tackle the stigma that's still around HIV and people living with HIV. And, since the 1980s, it's kind of still seen as a death sentence. Even though you can get medical treatment and, if you keep everything at bay, the virus is undetectable. And when we heard about how undetectable it could be, the team actually had this crazy idea of like, well, wouldn't it be great if we actually made a baby to prove how safe it is? And that idea sat on the table for quite a few weeks. We were going around other ideas, trying to see stuff. And we just kept falling back to this crazy idea of, what if we tried it? And that's where we gave birth to the idea of an HIV positive sperm bank, and the team was so passionate about it. They ran off, dealt with medical experts. Fortunately, we had a great client that worked with them, and, there were so many passionate people that brought this to life, and they got around every single problem they could to make this come alive. And when we launched it on World AIDS Day, we really didn't expect the response that we got. We put it out there, and we woke up in the next morning, obviously New Zealand's first in the world, and we woke up to our inboxes completely full, and all the media around the world just picking this up, loving the headline, having the conversation, which was the most important part, around the stigma and how safe with treatment HIV can be, and you can actually have and give birth to children. So when that happened, I think it was like 94 countries within like a 24-hour period were talking about it. And that conversation just spiraled and spiraled. And the big surprise for us was we managed to get about 27 donors within a week. And 32 women came forward shortly after that. And the surprising thing is most of these women were saying the waiting list for any sperm donation is around a 2-year period. And when they heard about this opened another channel for them and actually changed the way they saw things and gave hope again. And that was great, because you had the 27 donors who actually really wanted to have children. You had the 32 women that came forward that were also in the same boat. And we just put them together. And I think we're now expecting another 3 births this year on the 27th of January this year, just after 2 p.m. The very first baby to an HIV positive sperm bank was born, and she's a beautiful baby girl, and the mother's happy and the father's happy. And, there's a lot of goodness in this idea. So it's just one of those ideas where it's just taken off, and it took us by surprise how big it went. And I'm excited because I don't think it's one of those ideas where we did it for awards, we did it for something else. And I think it's now reached the point where it's potentially going to help change an industry in the sperm donation and push that forward by demonstrating that it's actually safe and you can open it up to HIV positive people.
And how hard, round of applause. How hard was it to sell that idea in, or what is is the client one that is completely brave and dealing in space and, you know, aware that they have to go big to drive real change?
Yeah, I think we were very fortunate with the New Zealand AIDS Foundation because the client is naturally passionate about what they do. And therefore they have to be brave because they're tackling issues that none of us would be facing on a daily basis. So when we went with quite a few ideas in, and that was one of them, because we were like, this is a little bit far out of reach for everyone. And to his credit, he and his team just went, that's the idea, let's do that. And so it actually wasn't a hard sell. The hard part was getting everyone behind it, you know, making sure that we covered off the medical bases and covered off every aspect from PR. Our team here at Mango and a girl named Katie, she was fantastic. She covered off every angle and every negative possibility, every positive possibility. And we just went with the PR. And you know, every day there were meetings talking around how we amplify it, how we push it further. But the client was on board with that journey the whole way, supportive and helping us get through every challenge we could to make it happen.
Moving on to the lovely Rick Brim, who we've got here. One of the ideas I loved out of Adam and Eve DDB was for Adidas and FIFA, where Adam and Eve had created a smart insole aimed at getting a generation of young gamers to start moving physically. And one of the statistics that stuck out to me, and I'm sure many of you as well, is that the fittest kids today would be among the least fit 30 years ago, which is incredibly disturbing. I'd love to know how you felt, Rick, as, you know, a father, as a human being working on this project, and you know, how that impacted you.
Again, I have to caveat that this was done very much in conjunction with both Adidas and FIFA and the teams back at the agency, and it was one of those things that from the get-go spoke to anybody who's got kids, spoke to anybody who sees the way the world's going, who's not living under a rock. And actually going into lockdown, the biggest thing was, as a parent, is the tablets and the phones were their lifeline, and gaming was a way out, but it was also a way of connecting with their friends. So gaming is both great for that, and it also has its downsides for kids being more sedentary. And this was just an idea that from the get-go just really spoke to people from a just the whole thing about a FIFA is if it happens in life, it happens in the game, and trying to and tying up with Adidas, trying to get kids moving. We knew that kids care about their avatars in their game. We knew that their points and their scores in the game is as important as well, not as important as real life. So the chip was developed, and it was very much developed with FIFA and Adidas, and we came in and sort of decorated it and around the edges. But it was about very much getting kids to move in the real life, so it affects their chances and their standing in the game. And it first on mobile, and then it went into the console. But yeah, it's one of those things that you hear, and it's just so simple. And funny enough, when you're talking to teams coming in and you're talking to creatives who about the work that's been done, it's always the one where people go, oh fuck, like it's just simple, and I'm very, very honoured that we got to collaborate with those guys on it. And yeah, I think that's it. There's not much to say apart from our kids are more sedentary than they were 30 years ago, and it's had great results. I can't quote the exact figures, but it's worked, and there was a different iteration of it, and it was what was the most satisfying thing is brands collaborating, and you see it all across culture, brands collaborating to create something magical, a bit like Ari's sweater, which I believe is a collaboration to create something magical. But yeah, no, I think that was a really interesting thing to watch, where you bring two mega brands together and what can be done. And we're seeing it across everything, and it was a privilege to be part of that as the agency.
All right, moving on to Britt Nolan over there. Holiday Party for Miller Lite, an unexpected campaign, a museum featuring hyper-realistic, quite ugly statues to represent the awful holiday parties that, I'm sure we've all been to, not at DDB, of course. Molson Coors has been creating some incredibly brave work since we've been working together. How hard was it to sell this idea in? Take us on the process of the brief, how we came up to create a museum. Love to know more.
Yeah, thanks. I'd invite Ari to jump in at any point in this as we were both quite involved in this one. But yeah, I mean, look, it was a really weird year for Miller Lite. I guess for all of our clients, but when you have a brand whose whole strategy and premise is built on being together with real friends and authentic connections, then COVID really threw a wrench in that. So we spent a couple months really, kind of trying to fine tune and hone and figure out exactly how, Miller Lite and Miller Time exists in the world of COVID. So when the brief came up of, holiday, this was actually really, I think, when the brand, finally like cracked through and we figured out exactly what Miller could be about in today's world. So through the struggle of figuring out how a brand that's all about real world connections plays, this year, we uncovered this nugget that a lot of people, when we started thinking about holidays and alcohol, you think holiday parties, right? And you think work parties. And we discovered that a lot of people actually really don't like work holiday parties. They find them to be inauthentic, stressful, full of drunk, awkward coworkers. And so, the spark was really that realization that this wasn't something we were going to miss at all. So that idea of actually celebrating the demise of work holiday parties happened somewhat early in the process. And the clients, these clients are very brave and really share our appetite to do work that makes its way into culture and that people really care about. So the selling of a bold idea with them, I won't call it easy. It's definitely got all the requisite challenges, but it's but they get as excited as we do about a really great idea. So when we cracked that, they were as excited as we were, and then it was just about how do we execute it and how do you really make it something special and really make it break through. I think I'd hearken back to the quote Ari likes to use of 80% idea and 80% execution, which I believe is borrowed, but that's really what it was, right? Like we had this nugget of farewell work holiday parties, and then it just became really sweating, what's the most powerful way to execute that?
Yeah. And we made a museum that people could go to. Why do that and not just run the TV? Because we made a spot, right? Why also go that extra mile and create a physical experience that people can go to, and what were the results of that?
Yeah, I think the simple answer to that would just be that if we only made the film, then you only get as many impressions as you pay for, really. And so, the goal here is to make something that gets amplified in culture and gets a lot of earned media, and really takes off in PR. So the fact that it was a physical space and that it was so meticulously crafted really contributed a ton to that story. So we worked with Alex Prager to execute this thing, and she, is just absolutely nuts about every single detail. I mean, these people were real people that we cast, that we scanned, then recreated sculptures of them, added details like body hair that would be underneath a shirt, that no one's going to see anyway. But all of that detail, just contributes to making this thing feel hauntingly real. So to us, I mean, again, it's about making something that we don't just pay to put in front of people, but making something that people are going to pick up and talk about and spread and amplify. And in order to do that, it was important that it was a physical place and that it was meticulously executed. It was, it was a weird time in history to launch a museum exhibit. But even despite COVID, I think it saw over 20,000 visitors. It was one of their most visited exhibitions ever. Got written about in the LA Times, and, just really kind of blew us away with how much attention it got.
Mm. And we've got quite a few campaigns that have done well this year from Molson Coors. And I'd love to hear about what you think makes such a great client-agency relationship, that we can have, 3 or 4 campaigns from the last 12 months that are all picking up at all the most recent award shows, and that we're expecting to do well at Cannes next week.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's shared ambition, at the end of the day, and then the media dollars and production dollars to, make that shared ambition heard, around the country and around the world in some cases. They are in a business of occasionality and seasonability. So, they have lots of moments where they have to remind folks that, what they sell can be very enjoyable. So we get a lot of at-bats, I think, as well. We've been kind of throwing the word around brave a bit, and I think, we like to use this word quite a bit in advertising. But I think the reality, I mean, I always think of bravery as like a little bit stupid, like it's brave to go fight a dragon, like that's brave, but like you're probably going to get roasted too, right? Like I'm not sure this stuff is as brave as it is just very considered. We wouldn't be recalling all these kind of success metrics, if it was necessarily brave. We'd be talking about the 99 knights who got torched before the one actually slayed the dragon, and I think that is it's an interesting point here, but to go back to your question, it's the sheer ambition, and I think it's about really wanting to get exponential value out of your ideas, and that's what that's where that kind of quote unquote bravery comes from. But it's actually just a way to amplify a narrative.
Mm. And favorite campaigns are like favorite children. We're not exactly allowed to name names, but I do know that you love the DDB Paris Tipping Point campaign for Ubisoft, which represented a dystopian London future, I guess you would say. Can you tell me why that work is special to you and why you do love it?
Well, unlike Rick and Britt and Juan Carlos and Gary and Diana, everyone who disavowed their participation in the work, to be humble, I was solely responsible for that piece. That was my brainchild. I actually directed it and edited it and did all the sound design. So I'll take credit for all that. And that's probably why it's my favorite piece. It's like the more involved you are, the more you love it. No, I absolutely had nothing to do with it. It's a lovely piece out of Paris. And for me, I mean, I think, just like the Brazilians have their incredible articulation of craft, I mean, I think so do the British, so do the Parisians, so do the Germans, so do the New Zealand folk, so do the Americans sometimes. But I think, this is a beautiful craft piece. They found an incredible production partner. And I think, that's another commonality in all these stories, from around the world. The best work attracts the best production partners, attracts the best craft, attracts the best narrative. I mean, to go back to the Miller piece for 1 second, the LACMA actually, went to visit Alex's gallery as she was making them, and that's why they just decided to include it in their museum. It wasn't, the actual, we didn't make a museum. This was put into one of the most prominent, modern art museums in the world because they were such a fan of her craft. And I think this Parisian piece is another version of that. It was also coming out at a time in the world when we might have had a different president, and there was a lot of feelings of kind of like this, how much do we accept the world as it is versus kind of push back on it? And I think the timeliness of that message, again, at the time, it's a little while ago now, was very potent in that moment, and then beautifully told. So I will give full credit to the 80-80 quote. It was Mr. Sir John Hegarty. And I do. I believe that to this day. And I think really everything we've talked about today has been an articulation of that. But I think this Parisian piece is lovely in that regard.
Mm. And moving on to more general Cannes questions, now that we've covered some of, the favorite campaigns of the last 12 months for our network, I'd love to start with you, Juan Carlos. I know before you've got to leave us. What are you looking forward to seeing at Cannes this year, having missed out on the festival in 2020?
I want to celebrate ideas. That's what I want to do. I think that is very important for our industry, for our people, for our creatives. I think that is the spiritual part that is going to be important. What is my dream? I want DDB to become #1. That's exactly what we want to do. Is we want to go back to be #1 agency at Cannes, and that's key for me. And I think that is a beautiful target, and I know that everyone is working hard on it. So I just want to say congratulations to Chicago, London, New Zealand, Germany, France, and we have in front something that is very tough. I mean, we've been like #2, #3, #3, #2, #2, #3 for so many years. I'm not saying that this year we're going to be #1, but we have to put all our cannons. It would be great to be #1 again. And then we can be #1, and then I think that is going to be a strong thing for the company. So let's see, but let's celebrate.
And what about you, Diana? I know you've been with DDB for about 4 months now, so this will be your first Cannes in our network. What are you looking forward to the most, and how is your team celebrating it this year?
Well, being the newbie on the block and not being on the block because you can't be in Cannes this year, that's a bit sad, especially for the team that has this incredible campaign out there, because normally, for me, I'm obsessed with Cannes. I like rubbing shoulders with the best of the best in the industry there. I like to just go down the stroll in the city, and then you see these amazing creatives around there, and you can always ask them questions, pick on their brain. You've got a lot of inspirations from the talks that you just have besides the Palais, or not even inside of it. So I'm really missing that one. On Juan Carlos, because I hope that he picks up just as many awards as he did with the DA&D, which was also insane. I mean, 16 pencils, gotta be kidding me. And hopefully we can play our part in there. I think I also found it quite inspirational what Gary said in terms of it's not about the awards as a show, it's the results that we're putting out there, that we're not just playing a game, that we're playing a part. And I think this year we've proven as a network wonderfully how to play a part in society, and I'm really, really proud of that. I joined DDB because it's a legacy, and I also have to admit that I was afraid taking on this job and this role in the industry, because in Germany, this is a really important role, and I wasn't really sure if I'm really up for it now. And doing this for 3 months and getting this wonderful support from the teams, from the people, from Ari, from Rick, who I had my first interview with, I feel amazingly inspired to be part of this network, and I'm really looking forward that next year I'm going to play a more important role and not just sitting here and say humbly, this is not my idea. I can say my 5 ideas and how they came up.
Yeah, I think that's a really lovely
welcome. No, welcome to DDB.
It's lovely to have you. Yeah, I think that what I picked up there, apart from, you know, your love for DDB and the important role that we have in Germany as a legacy agency, is that a lot of the work that we're talking about today has had a higher purpose other than just selling stuff, which of course we always want to do. But if you look at some of these campaigns, they are playing a bigger role in society. And maybe a question for you, Britt. Do you think that will be a big theme at Cannes this year? And what kind of themes are you thinking are going to emerge in the work that's successful? For example, you know, do we all just want to laugh this year, or is it going to be about a higher purpose?
It seems to be. That's one of the things I'm excited to see. You know, unfortunately, it doesn't seem like humor usually plays hugely well at Cannes. And it seems like from the shows already that we've seen this year, it's overwhelmingly you know, purpose-led, or you know, the work that's really been winning has a you know, has some sort of deeper societal impact. You know, very much so, which has been the case for the last several years, but seems even more pronounced this year. And you know, and I guess that's appropriate for where the world is, right? That's kind of everything. It's actually, what's unusual about this year is that it feels like it's transcended our industry, you know, in that everything has a meaning and everyone is really, you know, engaged in impacting society in some way. So I do expect Cannes to reflect that, but I'm excited to see if they'll continue that trend. I mean, there've been a few clear, you know, kind of runaway hits. It's interesting to see the short lists that have already been announced. You know, it looks kind of 50-50 when you look at Titanium, between things that are, you know, have a deeper societal purpose and, you know, and just really, really smart ways to connect with people. So I'm excited to see what the juries reward.
And what about you, Gary, in terms of award work that's going to be awarded, but also content that you're looking forward to tuning into? Is there any trends that you've been seeing more on the presentation stages that you're interested in learning more about?
Well, I think in general with Cannes, what I love about it is, like Diana was saying, is you're tapping into the most powerful minds in the industry, you know, and they all gather in one place, and you can learn so much from all the talks, and not just the talks in the arenas and that, but it's the talks in and around the arena that I kind of miss, and that's the stuff that we unfortunately won't have for the last 2 years. But I think the trends, and like Britt was saying, everything is purpose-driven at the moment. And yeah, I mean, I kind of wonder, where's the orange juice that made us laugh? You know, like, where's the stuff that's selling a product that's winning? And I think there's going to be a lot of discussion around how far has purpose-driven taken us, you know, and are we hitting that too much? I don't know. So I think there might be a discussion around purpose-driven thoughts and brands and tying ourselves to that. But there's some amazing work. I mean, like one that I look at now is the Oreo seed vault. You know, it's fun, it's interesting, it's unexpected to a degree, and it doesn't take itself too seriously. And I think sometimes we do get a little bit serious, and maybe that's a discussion that we need to have.
Definitely. I think the purpose-based conversation has been going on for a couple of years, right? And is it its own category? Does it compete against work that needs to sell stuff? It's a conversation that I expect will continue to go on in our industry for many years. Rick, for you as president of the film jury this year, apart from getting lots of probably nice gifts in the mail from other agencies and maybe some from DDB as well, what are you looking for? And what, without revealing too much, I know you're judging at the moment, what's standing out?
We're still in shortlist, and we're in that phase of everything's terrible and what do we all do and why are we all here, and we're doing 2 years and then we'll go into splitting it off. I think I was asked to talk last year when it got postponed, and I was asked the question of what do you want to see, and my response was I just want to see a bit more fucking nonsense, and it's playing into everything that everybody's saying. I want to see stupid stuff, and I want to see stuff. Purpose is great, and purpose has a role, but purpose is not everything we do. And I just hope that we start to see it moving forward. I hope we start to see it next year. I think if you look at things like Hollywood and music and culture, when they come out of Great Depressions and wars, they lean towards comedy and they lean towards lightheartedness. But there are a lot of pieces that are brilliant pieces, but they are purpose led. But I think one of the things I spoke to the jurors about was that it has to be about the craft. It has to be about the idea. It has to be about the integrity of a piece of work, and we have to be very careful not to award the purpose. It's okay not to like something, but agree with its purpose. And I think that's a very big thing that we have to be, especially when you are blinded by a blizzard of purpose, which we are, and the industry is going that way, and it's great. And this is not a criticism, but as a jury, you have to have a responsibility to be able to still see the good ideas and the great craft and the great execution through that, because I think sometimes it can run away with itself. But I would like to see more nonsense, and I hope next year this is the year of nonsense. There's some nonsense in here. Some of the things that are rising to the top, and I can't mention anything. I mean, one of them is completely batshit crazy and very, very fun, and from a region that we like. Just it's brilliant. But yeah, and personally, I'm looking forward. I'm quite happy that we're not going to be burping rosé for a week. So that's the positive. But I do also think can as a thing, as Diana touched on, I'll do it far less eloquently. I think it's important that we all get together as an industry and cuddle and talk and see each other and get drunk with each other, and I think it keeps us tighter, it keeps us more interesting, and it keeps us constantly a little bit more competitive. I hope that we all have to love each other and fight with each other at the same time, and that's what Cannes does. It pushes the industry forward. It pushes people to do better work. So that's my views on Cannes. But yeah, it's not a great it's a wonderful experience, but judging not with people physically is tough, and I hope we get back to it soon, because it as creatives it builds you, and it allows you to formulate your opinion as well, which when you're sat in a room just looking at a screen can sometimes be questioned.
Definitely. Yeah, I think more nonsense and less rosé is a good way of describing
More
this.
nonsense and more rosé is like.
Or nonsense and rosé.
Yeah.
Next year, more nonsense, more rosé.
I'd love to see more nonsense work next year.
All right, final question. So every year the question is asked, what Cannes Lion means for us today, and what will it mean in the future? So it's a big question, but is Cannes still the best judge of creativity, and is it still the most relevant award show for our industry and for DDB? And Ari, I'll throw that one to you.
Yeah, I mean, the easy answer is yes. I think the harder answer is it's a bit more nuanced. We need some sort of mirror to hold up, as an industry, as I think several people have touched on. We need that bar to be set. We need to compete against each other. We need to have these rivalries. We need to get excited. We need to be scared. We need to be motivated. All those pieces, play a role in award shows. I think the can piece, as long as it remains the most relevant to the client community, I think it will remain the most relevant to the agency community. And I think that is why can, kind of takes the top of the mantelpiece, at the moment. And I think, the international juries, they do assemble the best of the best. As seen by Rick and our many jurors throughout the years. It's important. It's important that we gather the show's only as good as the judges, and they do create a great, diverse, and intelligent group of jurors. But with that said, are there great pieces that I think are absolutely phenomenal that don't win at Cannes? Yeah, absolutely. Do I think there's pieces that win Grand Prix that are absolute rubbish? Yeah, I do. But there's no perfect system. And of the imperfect systems, I think this is our best at the moment.
Anyone else want to weigh in on that question? I know it's a big one, the value of Cannes for DDB, but I would love to hear anyone else's closing remarks.
I would love to say something, and I truly believe in our industry getting a benchmark is so important. Every industry in the world has a benchmark, and it's important for the industry. So because we celebrate, we make benchmark, we can talk to the clients, to the industry, to the world, we can bring news, freshness. So I think that's very important. And the second part is that also we can attract a lot of talent around that. And that's very important. We're thinking about the people that can come to our business. So if we don't understand that a creative benchmark is important, is that we're cutting the attraction of the new talents for the company. And that's very, very dangerous. And the third thing that I think that is important is having a benchmark give us the opportunity to celebrate. And celebrate is important for our business because we are talking about emotional advantage. Let's start talking about the emotional advantage between ourselves as a company. And it's very important to get that kind of celebration and people happy and getting excited and getting targets. And really, I don't care, as Ari said, that if we have a piece that deserves to win, I don't care about the piece. I care it's about like the context of getting this benchmark that is very, very important for the industry.
I think I'd like to add to that. I think one thing COVID has taught us is we probably were really fat with award shows we're going into it. And again, if you look at the music industry and you look at the film industry, does the film industry need the Oscars? Yes, it does. Does it need the SAG Awards and the this awards and the that awards? Put Golden Globes now? Probably not. And I think it's the same in any industry. I think we need our benchmark, and then we need other, like a couple of others. So film for BAFTA, D&AD is still very important. One show is still important. And but I think there was a lot out there, and maybe do we need them? That's sort of a question. I think we were getting quite fat with award shows, and there's different things to be done with money that's spent on that. There's different things that can, but can most definitely hold the mantle, because as I always said, it's the client. It's the one where creators want to win and clients want to win, and then you've got D&AD, which is slightly more creative led and creative community led, and those two to me feel like the big outward looking one, and the one that has a legacy of creativity, and then the local ones like One Show and things like that.
It's interesting. I was going to make a similar point, but I think like when we talk about the importance of Cannes this year, I think for that very reason, I think it's extra important this year because it's the only one that everybody enters, right? Like we've gotten more strategic about which shows we're going to enter, and not every agency agrees. And I know, like, you know, when the shortlists come out, once I see what we've got in any given show, I go and look and see who else entered. You're like, well, you know, were they in? Were we competing with this idea? Cannes is the one that it's not a strategic decision. We all agree it's important. And so it is really the universal benchmark, I think, this year more than any. And it'll be really interesting to see what that does to the body of work. And I think, to Rick's point, if that leads to some shows going away or whatever, but, you know, it seems like this year more than ever, Cannes matters.
Or maybe they won't go away. Maybe they'll just find a different purpose. But I think this year Cannes does matter because people haven't. This Cannes is the one that people will enter this year, whereas people have sat out of other ones due to financial restrictions.
Yeah, I think it's like Richard was saying, it's about getting together as an industry and just celebrating the work. You know, I think it's more important this year that we do that because, you know, making ideas is hard. You know, and we got to hug each other and move on, but it's important to be there.
And it's like Juan Carlos said, you have to celebrate creativity and not destroy it. And I think Cannes is by far the place where you can celebrate creativity in all its beauty. And I'm really looking forward to that next year.
I think that's a lovely sentiment to finish on. So I want to thank you all for joining. I know there are some crazy time zones on this call. So thank you again. And thanks everyone for tuning in. This is DDB Talks, and we'll see you next time.